Alyssa,
Good morning.
good morning. Well, I have a question for you.
Oh gosh, all right.
All right, we're gonna start out strong. Um, I'm curious. You are involved in dog adoptions. Tell me
Yeah.
everything.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot to tell. Okay, I could literally spend the whole hour just talking about this,
Yeah.
so keep me on track.
Okay. Yes. Transitioning.
We have a lot to get to. So I work with a local no-kill shelter, and they are unique in the fact that they're very particular. So when you think adopting a dog, you think going to the shelter, going home with the dog same day. They don't do that.
Mm.
They are really advocates for the animals, which I appreciate. And I haven't seen that before,
Mhm.
really, in a lot of shelters. So essentially, how things go is they're a huge fostering community. So they have about 300 dogs, but if you go into their facility, they don't have any of the dogs there really. They're all in foster homes, which is great for the
Okay.
animal to be able to get used to living in a home with a family before they're getting adopted, right? So that gets them a little used to it because a lot of these animals are coming straight off the street, coming from hoarding cases,
Mm.
coming from awful situations where they haven't learned how to be a dog yet. So if
Mhm.
you just dump that onto an adopter, it's probably going to fail, most likely. So they go through that process. There's not like a required amount of time. That's just what we do as we can. And then how it goes is you would submit an application for a dog. You then have to, oh my gosh, I don't know if you're hearing all those dings, but of course my phone's just like
I
blowing up.
am not, fortunately.
Okay,
So this
good.
on my end, you're fine.
It's just my ADHD going nuts. So essentially, you would submit an application for a dog. We would say, okay, cool, we have an adoption event on Saturday. You need to bring your entire family and any other dogs that you have in the home because all of you are going to meet this dog to see how the fit is. You have like a 30-minute slot interview, and basically, my role is helping out with the interviews. So I have a whole questionnaire that I'm asking you. I'm getting to know you, kind of some key things like, hey, if there's a hurricane and you have to evacuate, like, are you bringing the dog with you? Because that doesn't always happen here in Florida. Um, so I've really kind of stepped into that higher level role a little bit, which is more, and again, this is all volunteer work, but it really brings me a lot of satisfaction and just like fulfillment. And then my husband and I also foster on the side. So we've been fostering for about a year and a half. And we have one dog at a time. So we've had 8 dogs so far in total. All of them have been adopted and sent to their forever homes.
I have never heard of anything like that. Is that
It's
is
very
that
unique.
is it unique? I mean, is that something that's, cities have? Or that's pretty unique.
Yes, because we get complaints all the time that the process is too involved and can't
Sure.
you just give us the dog? And like a dog could have multiple meets and then we're meeting as a team afterwards to say, hey, we think this family is the perfect fit for this dog. Oh, and then the second piece of this is say we approve you to adopt the dog. We also require that you have a 1 week foster to adopt period. So that's where you're in a Facebook group messenger with us from the shelter, the previous foster, the person who did the interview, and you have to give us daily updates for that first week. And it's really so we can just see how the dog's adjusting. Are they doing well? Are they enjoying the family? Are you guys having issues with the dog? And how we can help advocate for that fit to work out. But worst case, if it doesn't, we say, hey, no harm, no foul, bring the dog back. We'll keep playing matchmaker to find you your perfect fit.
That's fantastic. As a dog lover, we have 3 dogs in the house, so
Yeah.
I get that. I don't think I would have understood, 10 years ago, because to me, growing up, dogs were farm animals, and we just had them by the dozens, and, they were always around. In fact, we were the shelter because people just
Mm-hmm.
dropped them
Yeah.
off at the end of our driveway, and we're like, "What? Okay, go. There we go." Or,
Yep. Another one.
there's plenty of food. But so they were farm animals, but then my wife grew up with Goldens, and
Oh,
so she kept on pushing, like, "Oh, it's just they cost money," and then we finally got one, and I fell in love, and then I was the one that said, "We need more," so now we have 3, and I think we're
yeah.
done. I think we're done. We'll
For
see.
now.
We'll see. I think we are. I think it's a lot, but we love them. It's unbelievable how much automatic joy just gets added to family life and our kids.
Yes.
You know, I walk in after work and the kids are on the floor, literally just cuddled up with one of
Yep.
them, or we'll be watching a movie and they'll just come and pile on top of us, and it's wonderful. That's so much fun. So much fun. Now, jumping a
Yes.
little bit into AI, I was curious, have you vibe coded an app for managing dog adoptions or attempted it?
Yes. So I've kind of been trying to work with the shelter. I kind of started this whole thing with the idea of making a foster app, and then it like totally got sidetracked. So I might eventually go back to that. But basically what we do right now is we're in a Facebook group messenger chat of like 300 people or whatever the limit is on Facebook. We have to have multiple chats because we hit the limit. And the foster coordinator will just say, okay, hey, we're bringing in 15 dogs from a hoarding case. Like, who can foster? And
Mhm.
just throw it out there, and people just start, saying, yep, I can come pick them up this day, whatever. But we do sometimes have dogs that are a bit more hard. And specifically, my husband and I really like the training aspect, and like being able to take a non-adoptable dog and help them on their journey to be adoptable
Mhm.
and work with them through this process, because they're coming from such awful situations sometimes. So like there's different like profiles of potential fosters. So you would think that there's a better way to match a dog to a foster and kind of link it that way. And there could be like a mass outreach that happens. And like, hey, I know that Alyssa is able to take big dogs. Like, I'm not going to send her a bunch of little chihuahuas to foster because she
Yeah.
can handle the bigger ones that people are usually more scared of or like hesitant to take home. And kind of do more of like a matchmaking service with the foster dogs instead of just like a free for all. So again, part of it is, hey, if the system's not broken, you don't need to spend time fixing it, which is the piece where I haven't, I started building in the background because you would think, hey, it could just be an easy database of like the profiles of the fosters and then the dog profiles, and then you could just kind of match them together. But yeah, it's one of those things that I hope to get back to eventually.
Yeah. So now, what's his name? Caesar, the dog whisperer. Now I'm going to be thinking.
Yes.
I'm going to be thinking of you when I when I watch him do his magic with the dogs that obviously want to eat him as for
Yeah.
breakfast, and he's
Uh-huh.
just a little bit unconcerned. A little bite here and there is no big deal. But,
Yeah, right.
so well, you and I got to know each other on TikTok. In fact, I joined uh, in the AI space, I joined TikTok like, I don't know, at around the first of the year, and you were one of the first people I encountered. It was Logan and then
Yep.
you. You were the first two, and then come to find
Wow.
out you're an accountant, and as you know, I'm fascinated by accountants because I'm writing a character that's an
Yeah.
accountant in a novel, and so it's been a ton of fun getting to know you. But jumping into AI, bring me back to that very first moment, that origin moment where you
Yeah.
suddenly realized, "Oh, I'm living in a world where there's artificial intelligence." What was that first moment for you?
Yep. So I would say last year, around November, that's when I broke off onto my own to do my own consulting company. So I started really messing around with AI because I knew, hey, I'm going to be a bottleneck. So like I need to be leveraging AI as much as possible to help me. So I remember ChatGPT Atlas was a thing. And I
Mhm.
bring this up all the time now, and people have no idea what I'm talking about. It was basically a browser tool that
Yeah.
ChatGPT came out with. Okay, yes. And it could do the clicks for you, and you could like have it open on another screen and like watch all the clicks happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, I'm living in the future. So I had it build out a whole website, which was just crazy to see because me, someone that had never built a website before, never really used WordPress except maybe in high school for like a homepage or something. Um, it was just really fun to see how far things had come, and then I could just be managing the AI and watching it do what it's doing and then interjecting as needed to correct it instead of having to actually, be the executor clicking the buttons and learning how to actually use WordPress and watch a bunch of tutorial videos and all of those things.
Mhm.
So that was my first, I guess, piece, my little like crumb of AI.
Mhm.
And I will, of course, say the website was complete trash. Like it wasn't good. I had to redo the whole thing. I had to hire someone to come fix it. But just the capability of it was really cool to see.
Yeah. So okay. So bring me from that moment where it was let's try out this thing to where you are now. And I've been watching you build in public, but I don't know what your actual stack is. So what's your AI and non AI stack? What are your go to apps that you're using and integrating with?
Yes. So I would say it's been kind of a crazy whirlwind. So when I started again back in November, I did that. I kind of had the failure with like the website not looking that great. And I was like, oh, AI is not there. Like it can't do all
Mhm.
these crazy things. Like we're so far away from it. But then Claude started getting really popular in this year, like I would say beginning of this year, like probably February, March is when all the videos started hitting. And then March is when I started my journey. So I had really put AI down like after the Chat GPT website thing. I was like, no, it's not there. It's not good enough. And then Claude came out and I was like, wow, this is so much better than Chat GPT. And
Mhm.
that's really what got me reinvested. So tech stack right now is I'm very focused on being AI agnostic and having a system that can plug and play with different AI tools, right? Like I don't want to be hooked on just Claude. So I use Claude, I use Codex or ChatGPT, whatever you want to call it. I have a little bit of Gemini, and then I have layered in a Hermes agent to kind of help with system fixes, but we're still working on the autonomous piece of the system, which I'll save that for later and stick it to just the tech stack right now.
Well, tell me just a little. I've been hearing Hermes. I'm kind of locked
Mhm.
into Claude myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this, and I have some other stuff going on as well. But that's kind of my main thing. There's so much to learn here, and it's more than good enough. So, but I've been hearing about Hermes. Tell me just a little bit about what that is. I literally don't know what it is. I've just heard the word.
So it's very interesting, and I'm still not very aware of what it is because I haven't used it a ton. I was
Uh-huh.
like, hey, like let's layer this in and just like start using it. So we downloaded it, we have it, but it keeps breaking. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to keep it moving and
Hmm.
keep it going.
Yeah.
But it's like a background agent that you don't, at least in my view, which people can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I haven't talked to Hermes. Like and I was trying to the other day. I was like, how do I talk to this thing? And I was like, you don't. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was trying to, I'm still figuring that piece out. It's kind of like these things are like question marks to me. Like if
Uh-huh.
I were to draw out my entire system, I'd be like, here's this piece that I'm not like 100% sure on that I still need to like dig into, but I'm focused more over here right now. And like
Right.
I'll get there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So is it? I think it might be like OpenClaw, kind of just
Yeah,
a
it's
way to
based
build
on
integrations.
you have to choose like a model to use. So I have a llama is
Hmm.
what is powering it.
Hmm.
So I think Hermes is probably more like, and again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's kind of like a harness.
Hmm.
So it's like you have to have it powered by a different model. So I talked with, and it's a llama Quinn, if you've heard of that.
Hmm.
So I've talked to Quen like once and it was hilarious. I asked it, I was like, what I basically was like, what's a harness? And like, how does this work? And blah, 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 blah. And it like went down this whole rabbit hole and started talking about like a horse harness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Why are we 200 years in the past? I can keep
I
up.
was
Keep up.
like, it was crazy. I was like, okay,
That's
I'm not
funny.
talking to
Yeah.
you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all going to be interesting. We I don't think we need to go into it too much, but the move towards local AI
Mhm.
that's on your own hardware and not in the
Yeah,
cloud, I think that's going to be, either 2026 or 2027 is going to be this kind of mass
yeah,
focus on that for at least some things. Well, what so I see you sitting here with your background and your Legos and make talking about building an accounting company, an
yeah,
accounting consulting company. Tell
yeah.
me a little bit about that, but then also like how AI is integrating with that, but then also is it integrating into other parts of your life as well, personally, or you and your
Yes.
husband, that kind of thing.
Yep. So, okay, let's start with the consulting company and what I do day to day and a little bit of that. So, I am a CPA, as we mentioned, an accountant. And really, my niche is helping public companies with their SOX compliance. So, what is that? When you look at a financial statement for a public company, How do you know that it's right? How do you know that it's okay to be investing in because you can rely on the financial statement?
And it's
That's where,
important to wear socks at that point?
yeah. Yes. I manage a team of socks, if you will.
Okay, okay, all right.
My
I
husband's favorite
I
joke.
like gray Timberland socks. Is that
Like,
adequate? I had to glance
like,
over at chat because I knew if Kriggs was here, he'd put his socks emote, which he did. He's a big fan of white socks.
oh, got it, got it. Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
SOX stands for Sarbanes-Oxley, and it's an accounting standard.
okay.
So essentially, my role is making sure that all of the controls that would make sure that these financial statements are correct are operating effectively and aren't just broken in the background. So what does that mean? Companies have multiple data systems, and they have different like accounting ERP systems where they're just like writing in the general ledger info and like journal entries. And then you also have data where you're maybe like selling inventory and you need to document exactly like all of that tracking and cost accounting. So it's making sure that an input from one system is completely and accurately brought over to the other system, right? And
Yep.
making sure that that integration works properly and like can be relied upon. So,
Okay, hold up, Alyssa. Now a lot of your TikToks are making sense. A lot of your
uh-huh.
TikToks because you are all about making sure everything's going all the way through. And I've seen a lot of your TikToks that talk about your
Yes.
frustration when something breaks, but that literally is your job is
My
to make sure
job.
inputs go all the
Yeah.
way out through to outputs and execute. That's interesting.
Yes. And it translates so well to AI because I've already had like part of my job has always been doing a walkthrough with a client for a process area. So if we're walking through your treasury process, I need to understand how your bank accounts are being recorded and how the money's moving and like finding these like little questions to ask to make
Hmm.
sure I understand the overall process and now can go document it as part of my job
Hmm. Hmm.
because we have to save all of that info into our files. So if we ever do get audited or questioned by the SEC, we can always like point back to it.
Good grief. If you were to climb inside my systems, you would actually need therapy after that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, let's see what happens. And then, I come back a couple days. Whatever happened to that? I wonder if that did something.
Yeah, no, but it really is neck and like it just makes so much sense together because I'm able to just, be drilling the AI and be like, where did you get this info? How is this coming over? Why aren't you pulling from here instead of here? And just like understand it so
Hmm.
clearly
Hmm.
because of my background, which has been nice.
That's fantastic. I think that in the AI space, especially in the vibe coding, mildly
Hmm.
techish kind of group that we're a part of, that likes playing with these things, but also doesn't always understand what's under the hood as far as the code itself goes.
Yep.
I think there's such a huge place for someone who knows how to code coming in
Hmm.
and talking to us and saying, here's some things to think about, or here's how to structure things, because we've
Yeah.
been doing this for decades and there's some good ways to do it. So that's like,
Yeah.
there's a great space, but that kind of what you're doing would also be really helpful for vibe coders as a
Hmm.
whole to understand at least the principles of how to think about it and what kind of mechanisms you can put into place to track and ensure that the execution is
Yeah.
reconciled.
Exactly. Because
Mhm.
it's hard to know what questions to be asking, but like if you're able to think of it like a process flow, you're
Mhm.
able to kind of come with those questions a bit more easy. But it is a skill set that I've been trained on. So
Mhm.
it's one of those things where I'm trying to think about the best way to be giving this information to people because that's something I'm very passionate about and why I started TikTok is that I want to make the more information available to
Mhm.
everyone instead of it feeling like this, barrier to entry that's kind of hard to get started. Like, why does it need to be that way? Like, everyone should be able to do it if they want to take the time to like invest and learn. Like,
Mhm.
they should be given the resources to do that. It shouldn't be hidden behind oh, buy my $99 pack and this is how you understand how to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're all helping each other. I love the
Yeah.
cooperation over competition
Yes.
mentality that I find on some social media groups. Well, it's that's so fun. I think that that explains a little bit because I think you do bring something into this space for people that are deciding I'm going to try to build stuff. and that's not
Mhm.
something I've done. And I think that explains why. I think when I first found you, you had like a few hundred, and now you have like 4 or 5,000 followers, and I'm like, she's hitting a sweet spot there. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of fun to watch. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fun, and I like switching into this role of like, not an expert, but like, yeah, kind of an expert with like AI and like adopting AI because I've
Hmm.
been doing it for months now, and like I just have a lot of trials and tribulations to be sharing with everyone so they can learn as well. But the fun piece is making it to where I don't give this tech, which I don't know that I could ever, but this tech bro persona where I know everything and AI is amazing and blah, 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 like shoving it down your throat. But instead, hey, I've also tripped on things and had issues and had failures, which I'm also going to share authentically,
Hmm.
but I'm going to share the piece of teaching as well. So it's kind of this balance that I've been playing too.
Yeah, it's actually been comforting to me because I'll try all this stuff and it's like, well, that didn't work. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, but how is she doing? Everything seems to work, but then you're like, no, that broke, and we're gonna have to rebuild that from the ground up. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, we're all in it together, which is kind of fun. I really do. As much as AI is such a massive technological advance, it about 2 years in, I realized we are, even though it feels like we're far into the distant future for me of kind of sci-fi world, it's really the Model T era of AI.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's been, I was thinking yesterday, I was actually making the YouTube,
Picture.
the
Yeah.
pictures, and I remember it wasn't that many months ago where you would have had 7 fingers and maybe 2 heads, and,
Yep.
the text would have been like, "What is that, even English or even letters? Like, what is that?" And now I just, when I type something in, it happens exactly like I want, and that was really, I mean, that was like last
Mhm.
fall
Yep.
when you just were like taking a shot in the dark and people were talking about how to prompt it to get more accurate letters on your screen and stuff. And now,
Yeah.
and so, we're making such rapid advances, but we're still in the infancy, and it's getting so much easier, which is a lot of fun. Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious how you approach developing workflows, and I'll give a little bit of a context to that. Uh, Starting out in 2022, I just happened to discover ChatGPT the day it dropped because I was on TikTok and people were talking about it, and I thought, "This is all made up. What are they talking about? This is not real." And so I
Yeah.
downloaded it. I was like, "Holy mackerel. This is crazy. We just jumped forward 400 years into the future as far as I was concerned." I didn't realize we were close to AI at all, let alone
Yeah.
actually, let's make it an app on your phone. And so then it was just talking to it, playing, kind of playing around, seeing what it could do. But most for me, I'm a painter, so mostly just talking and like brainstorming ideas. And you'd have the transcript that I could use for some stuff. And then it was really last year, maybe around this time, I was talking to a couple of buddies that we are all trying to figure out the AI together. And it dawned on me, okay, I've got to come up with workflows that work for me. Like, it's fun to talk to, and that works to some extent. But if I want to, I was driving into work to
Mhm.
go paint some shutters on a house,
Mhm.
and as I was driving in, I thought, I feel like I'm wasting time because AI is not doing something for me right now. I could have had
Yep.
it. Why didn't I have it do like a deep research project, and then I could come in and
Yep.
like have it summarize it for me when I got in on something. And I was feeling a little bit excited by the idea. I think we're at the stage with the deep research. It was when deep research,
Yeah. It was.
was being added, and it would like take 30, 40 minutes and actually do a really high quality research project for you. I'm like, I should be having this being done all the time, because why not? And and so I'm like, well, I've got to figure out, I can't just ask AI to do something. I can't say,
Mhm.
"Hey, chat, do something for me." Like, it's gotta be specific, and it
Yeah.
has to, like, there has to be a flow to it. There has to be an input and an output. And so I
Yeah.
started thinking about workflows and, like, specific repeatable dynamics. And that was really the first time I talked about that. So I've started building some of those,
Mhm.
and they've been like, once you find something that works, that you can, like,
Yeah.
redeploy, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like, I just got a little, I have goosebumps right now because it's so amazing, because it's, like, predictable success in the future, whereas before, until you figured it out, it was like, you don't know how to do that thing.
Mhm.
What are some of the workflows that that you've developed that have been working for you?
So I would say, I guess my pride and joy, because it
Mhm.
took so long to figure out, which I made a video about this too, but it was making it so Claude could do a bunch of research for me on socks. So, my accounting stuff and just like what's coming out. And then as well as like everything happening in AI. So essentially do research on both of these topics separately, come with a brief, and then every morning generate, excuse me, generate the Notebook LM podcast so I could listen to it
Mhm.
over, coffee or driving into work or whatever. So I finally got that to be a flow where it was repeatable and I know that I can rely on it to have that fresh podcast every single morning based on the research of what's happened, over the last day or week or whatever, because things were just moving so fast and I wanted to stay updated. So that's a key workflow, and I find it to just be so usable, right? Because I can hand it off to my husband or my friend, and I can say like, all right, just whatever research you want done can
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fantastic. Are you familiar with Nate Jones?
Yeah,
He was one of the first guys. I think I was just watching in the AI space, and the algorithm on TikTok knew I'm interested in this, so it was just feeding me more and more
yeah,
people, and this bearded guy kept on showing up, and the first time you're like, "Oh, that's interesting." The second time, it's like, "Oh, that's really good." After
yeah.
about 15 times and every single TikTok was hitting the sweet spot and was useful, I'm like, "Okay, wait, who is this guy?" So click on his profile. I'm like, "Oh, he's been talking for a while." And then he
Yeah,
was talking about Substack, so I went over and subscribed on Substack uh, and was in awe of I'm still in awe of Nate at
yeah,
his I think he's obviously, a genius and knows how to work and knows how to put in the work because he's been doing this well before ChatGPT dropped. He's
oh
been
really?
kind of he's been in kind of the tech space and in the AI space, and I think he was the something like I'll be making this up a little bit, but something like the head or the director of kind of AI for Netflix or for Amazon Prime or
Um,
something like that for their
okay.
algorithm that feeds you like recommended
Yeah,
you might like this. I think he was in that space of kind of machine learning
got
and
it.
that kind of thing. So he has a deep bench of experience on that. But
Mm-hmm.
also every single day coming up with an unbelievably useful, dense long video,
Yeah.
massive and super useful like essay on a topic, and that's not human to be able to do that
Mm-hmm.
at that level. I mean, we
Yeah.
maybe all can write an essay every day, but to have an essay that gets you number one in tech on Substack with thousands of paid subscribers, like that's not human. And then
Yeah.
but he's open about it and he explains, and if you can piece it together, and sometimes he does a little bit of a deep dive. He's got workflows, and
Mm-hmm.
he's doing a lot of background research and using AI to do the research and kind of feed him the stuff. He
Mm-hmm.
absorbs it and then kind of makes a judgment call on what approach to take and puts it out there. And then he surprised me because his workflow, I thought he must like write the essay and then decide how to make the Substack video and the YouTube video and the TikTok video. It's the opposite. He makes the video. He just sits down and talks about it. And then out of
Mm-hmm.
that conversation with himself almost comes the Substack article. And so I was like, okay, he's got this massively powerful workflow to actually produce high value every single day and
Yeah.
then send it out to every platform. And that's like a very intricate way of like deciding what to do. So that and then he said, and I can see it starting now, and this is where we can get over more into the philosophy side of things.
Yeah.
He made a comment on a TikTok one time, and I've thought about it and talked about it a lot since. He said 10 AI trained employees can run circles around 500
Yep.
AI, like people that talk to ChatGPT. They can run circles around them easily. Just
Mm-hmm.
10 of them as far as the actual product. And because if you start to build workflows
Yep.
in 5 minutes, you can do the work of 3 days.
Yeah.
And if you figure out these workflows that help you harness AI to what you're doing and to start producing it really rapidly. And so I've in my mind, and I think it's in the in the AI conversation, there's a spectrum from legacy lifestyle where
Mm-hmm.
it's just how it's always been done, no AI involved, probably no computers involved, all the way over to AI native. And so I think of AI legacy, AI integrated, and AI native. And how I define the terms is legacy is just no AI, either intentionally because you've
Mm-hmm.
decided I don't want AI there for philosophical or practical reasons, or because you just don't literally know that AI exists. I'm a painter. I paint houses, and I'll usually chat with the
Yeah,
customers a little bit, and I'll be like, "Hey, do you use AI?" Or at some point, and some still say, what are you talking about?"
it's so crazy.
And I'm like, "Oh, you don't know the tidal wave that's about to, that's already crashing on
Yeah.
shore." And so they're like, "Are you talking about something computer related?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, all
Wow.
right."
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to grasp when you just have no conceptual idea of what it can be
Right,
capable.
right. So you have that kind of legacy where you're just, living like humans have always lived.
Hmm.
And then integrated is take what you're doing and make it more efficient. Like,
Yep.
hey, I'm doing this. How can I make it go quicker and a little bit more smoother? And then AI native is what's even I'm really super fascinated. The legacy just makes sense and I'm using it all the time and it seems kind of
Right.
natural. But why the thing that's fascinating to me for myself and in general in culture is why and where do I want to stay legacy and just I don't want AI and computers to have anything to do with
Hmm.
that, even if they could.
Mm-hmm.
And why philosophically, why would I do that? Or why would people do that? And then the native, which is now that AI is a first principle, what's possible? And
Yeah.
that's super fascinating because whole new arenas are opening up that would literally
Mhm.
have been impossible 5 years ago. But where
Yeah.
like, how do you I've been looking at that and thinking about that in my own life and making some decisions, like, I don't want AI involved when I am doing some creative writing. Like, I do morning
Yeah.
pages, if you're familiar with morning pages, which is a kind of an artistic morning meditation kinda thing, like, that's me. That's just
Mhm.
me. I don't wanna talk to Claude and say, "Here's what I'm thinking about." I just wanna, like, think and pour it
Yeah.
out on the paper, and so I've just decided that's a good thing for me just to stay legacy, and then the rest of my
Mhm.
life is all I'm trying to figure out how to get AI native for the most part, but how are you approaching that with yourself and then in the culture as the culture is very divided in some ways on that?
What an interesting question. So I would say overall, like as a human, as just the general human Alyssa, like I would say that I'm very integrated. So I
Mhm,
am not scared to get AI involved to like make something better. So for example, well, okay, I'll start there. So me as a person, I'm integrated.
mhm,
My firm and company that I'm building is AI native.
mhm,
And then where I keep things as a legacy is really, texting people, like my phone. Like I know
mhm,
obviously, but like I'm not having AI in my phone telling me, hey, this person texted you, you need to respond, or like drafting responses to text or anything like that. Like
mhm,
I keep that as me specifically, the authentic human. And then there's pieces of my life that I've started thinking about where I can integrate AI in. So if I'm doing like a Lego set, that's legacy. I'm not using AI for that. And that's like a physical activity that I usually, go into my dining room where there's a nice light, a big table, and then I'm watching reality TV and
I
I'm just
I
like doing like a
I
set.
will say my son, my 15-year-old is like deep into Legos. I think he took a picture and said, "I'm missing this piece. Can you identify the piece?" And it actually like found the piece online that he could purchase it because he was missing this specific little thing that he
Yeah,
needed. But, yeah.
that's smart. I mean,
Yeah.
uh and then, so I also do powerlifting, which I would say that's more integrated because I am trying to build a coach bot.
Mhm,
So I'm gearing up for another competition, my second competition, and I'm using it to kind of rely on for, okay, what type of workout should I be doing? Which exercises should I be doing? Which accessories should I be doing? Giving me that list. And then I kind of take it from there. And then I'm, doing my workout. Sometimes I'll go and talk with Claude and just be like, hey, like that set felt weird. Like this specific muscle feels off. Like, what am I supposed to do? And it'll say, okay, put your foot out more, or like twist it a little bit and see if
mhm,
that helps. So That's more integrated. And then, yeah, again, native would be just the business side. So I'm approaching it from a perspective of different areas of my life getting different treatments. Not me as one person, having this one philosophy that I'm sticking to, but instead me being flexible enough and adaptable enough to like move into these different spaces and adopt AI in a different way or not include it at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting as I think about, like I said, we're in the Model T era, and as it
It's
can
crazy
do
to think
more and
about.
more and more stuff,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. And I read a book, Zero to One, a few years. Well, yeah, it's probably been 10 years ago. And the concept of the book was it was targeted towards business owners and business developers, entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and the thesis of the book was don't just try and make a better something that's already there. Try and make something that's never existed before, or
Mm.
consider that. And so one of the things that it explained, or the way it supported that as an argument or as a path forward, is it looked at the like the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it, or those investment portfolios, and it looked back over the last 100 years, 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, and it was talking about 150 years ago relative to 100 years ago. 50 years ago, the number of things on the stock exchange that didn't exist 100 years ago, even as a thought in anybody's mind, was like
Mm.
70% of the, and then
Wow.
that model kept on, so if you go back 50, to the 1950s, the internet
Hmm.
is now a massive chunk of, what's online, didn't even exist as a thought.
Yeah.
And you just keep on, and he gets closer and closer and closer to 10 years ago. And it's like it's still that still holds. And now we're in the AI space where now that's a massive thing, which really 10 years ago we wouldn't have really, unless you were like
Yeah.
understanding what's coming and investigating it, most of the population wouldn't have thought, oh, I bet we're going to be working with computers and letting it do all the stuff. Like that's not a thing. And
No.
and so I think 10 years from now, there's things that nobody's
Hmm.
thinking about that will be the thing that people
Yeah.
are doing, and AI is gonna be driving that, I think.
And that's the exciting piece because I see a lot when people are thinking, oh, AI is taking jobs and, we shouldn't be adopting it because it's going to take everything we're doing. But like, we're not thinking big enough. Like, there are more roles that are going to be coming because of AI that have not existed before. And that's where opportunities will be to like be adjusting what we're doing day to day.
Mhm.
So, with the AI adoption, I've really taken the approach of, hey, if there's something easy that's on my plate, like I need to push it so then I can be taking on more complex tasks that actually require my judgment, my expertise, my human
Yeah.
experience, and going that way. So it's really, again, about being adaptable and just moving, but it's exciting. It's exciting to know
It
that there's
is.
like an endless possibility that we just don't know yet.
Yeah, the people I feel the most bad for right now, because you just could nobody saw this coming, is the people who are just coming out of college or in that
Yes.
phase of life where they've kind of spent all
Yes.
their money and locked in on something that it no longer exists as
Hmm.
as marketable as it was, or maybe not marketable at all. And it's like some people are going to get trampled by their, the things that were really good choices along the ways, but it's kind of like playing poker. Sometimes you just don't know you're playing poker when you're deciding which
Yeah.
major, but you kind of are. It's always, my dad used to say anytime we were talking about investing or taking risk is, given all the current moments, realities, yes, that would be good. You just have to realize things change very rapidly. So you can't say
Hmm.
that I'm going to buy this piece of real estate and sell it because the market's good, because the market could crash between now and then. And we were all talking, we lived in a pretty affluent community, as construction workers. We weren't affluent, but it made so much sense just to invest, like go buy a house, make it a $750,000 house. It doesn't really matter because you'll be able to sell it. The market was unbelievable. You could sell anything that you put on the market in that resort community. And then I think it was it 2008? and everything crashed,
Mhm.
and there was, within a year, there was like 10 years worth of real estate on the market. And so, we're all living in that age where there's so much flux. It's exciting to me, and it's exciting to watch, but it's also, what decisions do you make? And
Yeah.
I mean, some people are making predictions, but those are predictions based on the current reality, which is gonna be changing in variable ways that we can't even begin to understand, really. Um,
Yeah.
because it was really not, I mean, it was like last year this time that people were saying with conviction, people that really knew, AI will never be able to code. They will never be able to do quality code. And now it's like nobody's writing, or almost nobody's writing code anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's all of a sudden drained down to like 1% of what it was in a year. But at
Mhm.
the time, it made sense to say that because it couldn't kind of create a matrix of quality control.
Yeah.
But then you had the continuous looping agents where they could kind of circle back and test it and fix it. And on your end, it just works, And
Yeah.
I see, at least on Claude Code that I use, it shows up as red, like when something was an error. And so you see
Mhm.
that error, and then you see looking at it and
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I see the problem," and it going in and fixing that colon that was missing or something, or the wrong kind of command. And on the other end of a half-hour session, I now have an app that actually does exactly what I was hoping for, and it's just getting better at an
Yes.
exponential rate, which is, it's exhilarating, but it's like, my wife and I, whenever we don't know what's coming, well, we
Mhm.
call it flying on standby, because one time somebody had given us a bunch of comp tickets. He was an airline pilot who'd just given us a stack because we needed to go do something overseas. He's like, "Here's, 8 apiece, that should get you there, but you might have to, like, route through to get, just you might need
Yeah.
to go to Dallas instead of Houston, but, just
Yeah.
keep on working, and that should be plenty." And, so, but on every flight, you didn't know what was gonna happen next. There was just too many
Mhm.
variables. You didn't know if there was gonna be, 2 seats for us to take the next flight, and we didn't wanna get separated and then us both try and find our way within the
Yeah,
next couple
right.
days. So, that discomfort of, we have made a decision that's locked us in, and we are about to see the consequences of that decision. We're either gonna be spending the night on the floor in the airport, or we're gonna be,
Yeah.
on our way, and it's gonna be the direct flight or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we're all flying standby right now, in a lot of ways, kinda still making decisions, but making decisions and, instruments only, but the instruments aren't really reading the
Yeah.
the
We're
terrain too much.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're just having to go off of, like, what you think is gonna happen. Like, that's
Mhm,
how I've been going now, is just off of I hate to say it, but off of vibes, kind of,
mhm,
where it's like, I don't know what the right decision is. And I recently talked to my that's the piece that I've been trying to lean on with AI as well, is like strategizing with AI. Like, I'm like, hey, you have all my context of everything that's happening, like my whole second brain. So
mhm.
you should be advising me and like helping to brainstorm ideas and next steps. So it was yelling at me yesterday because it was like, you love optionality and you're too scared to commit to something because you don't know what the outcome will be. And I'm like, yeah, I want all the doors open. I don't want to close any of the
Mhm,
doors, but at some point you have to commit to a door and just sink or swim, because it basically was like, you're going to have to do like 90-day tests. And I'm like, 90 days is a long time to commit to something.
yeah. It's interesting, I've discovered, because I'm building 3 board games right now.
Oh yeah.
Because once you figure, like, the workflow thing, once you figure out a
Yeah.
workflow to actually push through iterations, it's like, "Oh, here's
Yeah.
another idea," in this other arena of my life that I wanna do a simulation. But it was this unexpected moment. I was I'm building this simulation board game that simulates a particular 2 philosophies of construction project management, and you can decide, which path to go down from the design phase to the build phase.
Mm,
And, so I was building it out. I've been working on it for years. Before AI, I was working on it, uh, and then got stalled out because it got so complex. I'm like, I need to dedicate myself to board game building, I guess, full time, but I can't. So it kinda laid there stagnant, and then Claude Fable, I got a 2-hour window before it shut down the first time.
yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh," I was driving home thinking, "Oh, I've got the whole weekend, I can't wait." And I had a list of things, and then I had the thought of that board game, like, "Oh, that would be hugely satisfying to get that pushed forward to a playable state." It doesn't have to be perfect, just playable.
Mhm.
And so I dumped and I have this massive amount of data and, I've already organized I kinda laid out the game theoretically, and then the supporting infrastructure of the philosophy of this one way of construction project management that's centered on throughput and margin allocation, which is completely different than most project management processes. So I fed it that whole, I mean, 300,000 words basically of the conceptual development that me and a friend developed this idea that he then deployed and has gone big time with it.
Mm.
And so I dumped it all in, Nate Jones was like, "Do not prompt this like Opus, just, like, give it the data, give it an objective, walk away and have dinner and see what happens, because that's, just give it
Yeah.
kinda a clear objective." And so I did that. Little did I know, as I sent the prompt, I also got a notification on my phone because I have text messages from Anthropic anytime, like, Anthropic's down or up, like, it kinda keeps it's a feed to my
Oh,
phone that keeps me, like,
right.
informed. Because sometimes, I I was trying to figure out why something wasn't working and come to find out Anthropic was down, but I'd spent half an hour like, "What am I doing wrong? Like, why is this not working?"
Yeah.
And, I think just Opus was having problems intermittently because sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So I searched online and found a feed where I could get
Mm.
well, so anyway, I sent the prompt to Claude Fable. I'm like, "Okay, here we go. It's a Claude Fable weekend." And then I glanced down at my phone right here and it said, "Claude Fable is removed from
Mhm.
by government order." And I was like and I looked down at I'm like, "Well, I think it's using it. It says Fable on the model," which it was, like, it shut down at 10 o'clock that night. So I had a 2-hour window, and in that 2-hour window, it built the simulation into a playable state,
Wow.
and this was the thing that I'm like, gave me goosebumps. It I was telling it, like, it sent out multiple agents. I was like, "You need to study the average outcomes of residential custom builds, like how many end in lawsuits, how many end in success, how many, just I want you to look at that as a spectrum because what happens in the game needs to simulate that.
Mhm.
And that will show the contrast of this other approach. And then I had it go out and like it was studying board game variables to add to what I'd already studied. And so it sent out all these agents to do like these research projects, brought them back, built the board game. And then it said, I can't remember how many it said. It said something like, so I've built the game and then I've run hundreds of simulations on it to balance it. So it would
Yeah.
play the game through like probably in a split second to see what
Yeah.
the outcome if you based on your choices until it found the balance where the board game uh, simulated what actually happens in the real world, so that a certain number need to end in lawsuits, or else it's not a realistic game, and a
Mhm.
certain number. So it was running simulation after simulation, which has now become one of my strategies. Where like when I'm building something, especially strategic or trying to make decisions, you can have it run hundreds of simulations against a data set to see what the outcomes are, and then it comes back with, "Here are 3 suggestions that you should think about these things because, here's where the danger lies," or whatever, which is kinda cool.
Gosh.
It's kinda
Oh,
crazy.
I just love the capability of data analysis. Like, as an accountant that used to love doing data analysis and just digging into things, like, the opportunities are endless now, and it's just so exciting how quick it can get done.
Yeah. What's been your experience? I know you make stuff on TikTok. When I'm out and about talking to friends and family, we end up talking about AI, and,
Yeah.
what has been your experience just as you see culture shift and see, probably people falling on different parts of the spectrum? What are
Yeah.
some of the experiences you've had with that?
It's very interesting. I have specific people that I can talk to about AI, and then I have other people that I just don't even, like, bring it up anymore. I'm just like,
Mhm,
"Okay, we're not gonna have, like, a detailed convo," or, like, maybe we focus on, all the other stuff we have to talk about, and then
mhm,
but it's not like I'm talking about it all the time in every single convo that I'm having throughout the day, and when I do start talking about it, it just kinda, like, goes over people's head. So
Mhm.
that's fun. But I have like one friend that I'm able to talk to about some stuff.
Mhm.
And what's been happening in my conversations though is like I was talking with a very close childhood friend, and her husband own a tattoo shop. And I was like, "Oh, you guys using AI? Like how are you doing your accounting and your bookkeeping and blah blah blah?" And just going into a whole discussion of where their problems are, what the issues are that they're having, and then talking about what AI could do for them
Mhm.
is like it's fun. And I think we've talked about this before as well when we were live on TikTok, where it's just fun seeing the light bulb go off for them, where they're just like, oh wait, like this could actually change my entire day to day and all the issues that I'm having. And then I talked to my hair lady the other day, same kind of conversation, like what are you struggling with in your day to day and like running your salon, and like how could AI help you, and talking
Mhm.
through all of that. So I think that's the biggest part right now, is that people just don't understand the capabilities, and AI adoption is such a sliding scale that if you're talking to Chat GPT or like generating an image, you think you've adopted AI and you think you're using AI, and there's not much more to it. So
Right.
it's the hard part of getting people to think bigger and get out of the box that they've put around what AI is.
Yeah, it's such a different entity than anything we've experienced because it's stochastic. There's a variableness to it. And
Mhm,
I was talking to a good friend of mine who developed the training for a pretty large corporation and he works for, and then he's super into AI. Like he and I and another friend talk every day pretty much. And,
mhm,
about what we're doing and exploring, and we're sharing Nate Jones Substack articles, and I built this because he said we should, so I tried it out, and here's so we're in that space together. So he, as a, enthusiastic, he's very much enjoying building stuff with it, in this, like, 1,000-employee corporation.
mhm,
He was the guy that they tapped him to create the training. And he had this experience. So he did the training. He had this experience of all of life has, to some extent, like we don't live on standby very often. I think most of us have built our life so we're not living on standby. So our days are pretty predictable. We do things, we
mhm.
know what the outcomes will be. And especially at work when you have deliverables that you've got to deliver and you're on the clock and
Yeah.
he said the experience has been, this has been fascinating. I think until you've gotten into it and learned how things work, this is this big blank space for people. He
Mhm.
said he'll do the training, and the people that, come back to the next session or whatever will say, well, I tried it and, it just didn't work. And I needed to get it done. But the question in their mind was, am I 2 minutes away from a solution? Or
Mm,
2 year like 2 year like, I don't know, and they don't it is this blank space where you have to experiment and discover, like, what it's gonna take to get something done and how to do that, and they
mhm.
just don't know, and a lot of people try it, it doesn't quite work, and they've just gotta get it
Yes.
done and just never go back because they don't know what's the I don't have any idea what the gap is here. Why is it you said this would work, and
Mhm,
it didn't work, and I spent 2 hours that I really didn't have on it, and so I just, and they don't realize that which is understandable. I mean,
mhm.
they do have deliverables, but the experience that I think you and I have had is experimentation is what's required, and it's on the other
Yeah.
side of experimentation that you find those things that work, and then they're massively valuable, not a little bit, but massively valuable. And
Mhm.
and I think there's has to be a willingness, and I think it's probably to some extent both what job are you in and what are the expectations on you, but also just personality. Like,
Mhm.
I have always been, in an exaggerated way, an experimenter, where I'll read some book, and by the end of the day, I have some little fragment of what the book was expressing that fascinated me. I get it out into the real world in this very inchoate, not really fully formed space, and that's my happy space. Like, just get something and then start tweaking it, and
Mhm.
that's my personality, but I know people, I might be married to one of them who, uh likes to know what the outcome is and likes to be successful and, likes things to be pretty perfect coming out of the
Mhm.
box. Um, and so navigating those personality types, I think as we
Yeah.
look culture wide, because I do think that in 10 years, people that have gone deep and hard into it will basically be superheroes of some brand where they can do like I'm already doing relative to me, like I'm not like a super high output person, but I'm literally doing hundreds of times more completed projects per year. So it's not
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I just got 10% better." I'm like, I'm on an exponential. It's orders of magnitude
Mhm.
difference for me relative to the things that I would have gotten done last year in a
Yep.
non-AI space, and I've got completed projects that I'm almost accidentally doing. I'll just have an idea, toss it out, play with it for a few minutes, come back the next day and complete it. And that would be something that would have taken me if I needed to like learn the computer language and figure out how to write the code, literally
Mhm.
months of my life. And I just kind of accidentally did it on a whim because I had an idea while I was painting, talked about ChatGPT, asked it to like, hey, why don't you just craft a build spec for me and I'll just drop it into Cloud Code. And
Yeah.
then boom, I've got a whatever it is, an application or website or a new Excel document that I use every
Mhm.
day. And I think as we but here's I think about this often, in the creative writing space, which is kind of my deep love. I just love writing. There's this truism that people say, "Oh, I'll write a novel someday," as if you can
Mhm.
just sit down and write a novel. Like it is a whole mental craft. Like you've got to cultivate your brain to sort out these thoughts and put them down into words. And it's not something that you can just sit down and do all of a sudden because you finally have time.
Yeah.
It's really a craft that you have to discover over years, and I think AI is gonna be like that. It is very creative, even though it's all run on computers, it's extremely creative, and
Mm.
I think like creative writing, I think just staying in the space and experimenting, even if it's failure,
Yes.
to me, it doesn't matter. Like, I learned something that I would need to learn if in 10 years I decided, okay, I'm going to start building with I don't realize, oh, I've got like several years of experimentation before I really learn how to do something really high quality with this
Mhm.
thing. So that's anything people are like, well, it's slop. I'm like, even slop is learning if you approach it that
Yes.
way. And then it's like, okay, toss that away, but now I'm a little bit better. And so it's very fascinating to wake up in this sci-fi world that we're living in.
It is. And one of the things that really motivated me at the beginning is I saw some TikTok where it was like, right now we're in the experimentation phase of like figuring out what works and what doesn't. Everybody's on the same kind of playing field with figuring things out. Yes, of course, you're going to have experts and people that know more than you, but
Hmm.
for the most part, it's all the same kind of playing field or like levels, and you can catch up very quickly. So there's going to be people that have to fail in order to continue the discovery of the experiment. Like even if we just think of it as like a traditional scientific experiment, like people have to fail to find the solution to it. So why not be part of the group that is going through the failures and sharing the insights and helping the overall like community adopt everything as well.
Right.
Like that was very exciting for me. And I just yeah, it's an exciting time, and it's nice to be able to do something and fail at it and not feel like you're the only one failing. Like everyone is failing as well, and we just have to think bigger. Like
Mhm.
anything is possible right now because we don't know the extent of this technology. So we just have to keep pushing, because as we keep pushing, it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger of the potential.
Right. Well, it's one experience I had because I did jump into AI that first day that it dropped,
Mhm.
and then because of how the algorithm on TikTok, which is my main social media, like that's kind of the
Yeah.
one that I'm on most if I'm going to be scrolling, and and it's pretty much filled up with AI and comedians. That's
Mhm.
for the most part what mine is. And And so it feels like everybody in the world is building all the like everybody's creating apps and stuff. And so I was I was feeling not frantic, but also a little frantic. Like I've got to keep up with this. This is not something I want to be left behind on. Um and I really want to keep up. And so, but I'm like, man, just everybody's building. And then I think somebody said something that it was like, actually, not a lot of people are actually using like
Right.
coding harnesses. And I was like, really? I think pretty much 100% of the people are. And so I actually did with Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. I had each of them do a deep research project on the demographics of AI adoption, and then I had Gemini synthesize it, and then I had Claude read the synthesis, and then produce this output, which was this grid of the world population, and then each square was like 3 or 4 million or something, and so it was this
Mhm,
massive grid, and then it plotted um, the AI adoption, and so in white dots, like not filled in, were all the people that had never used AI knowingly themselves, like probably had interacted with it because it's in supply chains and stuff that's getting them their
mhm,
groceries, but like never have knowingly done anything with AI, was 2/3 of the world population, and also about 2/3 of the US population. Because at first I thought, oh, this is, third world nation, that don't have access to computers. Like, no, it's just generically the world population, about 2/3.
yep,
And then of the third, then it was like another color of people that had interacted with like ChatGPT and talked to it and asked it questions.
mhm,
And then down on the bottom row of like, I don't know how many rows it was, on the bottom row was people that pay for AI to actually
yeah,
use the actual, like a lot of the features, was like I don't know, 10% or something like that.
yeah,
And then down at the bottom was this little red dot of
mhm,
people that use coding harnesses like like Codex or Claude Code. And those were the people that are filling up that little one dot of hundreds of dots was the 1 or 2% or whatever it was of people
mhm,
that are actually building. They just happen to be filling up my TikTok feed. And I was
mhm,
like, "Okay, okay." So the earthquakes happen, the tidal wave is coming, but I'm
yeah,
not behind the curve here. I'm kinda,
yeah,
kinda riding the curve, and I've never and that was a fascinating experience. I feel like, or not I feel like, I think that I've never been an early adopter of
yeah,
something like that, you know? I've used
same,
computers, but it was, decades after other people had used it. I've used, I got a smartphone, but like 3 or 4 years after smartphones, I got on Instagram, but it was,
yeah,
10 years after Instagram started. So I've always been like and I'm not worried about it. And I wasn't worried about this. I just was like, this is cool. I want to try it. To be in the 1% of adopters of what I think is the most powerful tool in human history
yeah.
it's a very unique experience to wake up and play with that in that space, which is fascinating.
It's wild, but it's so exciting and so fulfilling. It's just something that we have to keep reminding ourselves of, though, because it's easy to get so just what's the word? Distracted by people around us and what we're seeing on TikTok and feeling
Mhm.
like you're behind. And I think this was a bigger deal for me when I first started, but obviously as I've continued, I've realized how small the population actually is and how niche it is.
Mhm.
And that has given me a bit more confidence to, share what I'm learning and figure things out. Because at the beginning I was like, oh, everybody just knows it and I'm behind. But
Mhm.
it really isn't. We're like what is it called? We're on the frontier or whatever, like
Right.
being the first pass of people taking a shot at it, which is exciting.
I think
And
go ahead.
yeah. Oh no, you go. Oh, pioneers. That's what I wanted to
Yeah.
say. Pioneers on the frontier.
Yeah, yeah, which is a little bit dangerous to be a pioneer on the frontier, but it's fun
Mhm.
if you wanna do it. Yeah, I think one thing as I think about the future, and I don't know. I'm just curious. I don't know if it's gonna turn out this way, but at least in my experience, just in the small subset of which you're one,
Yep.
y when I talk to people and I do these interviews in part because I'm just curious about how people are using it, I have never encountered someone who's using it the same way.
Yeah, that's a
Whether
good point too.
whether I'm interviewing or whether I'm just chatting with people,
Yeah.
nobody's using it for the same things or in the same way because it's so flexible, you can decide how you wanna use it, which is, you know, with Microsoft Word, you just have to use your keyboard, and everybody's
Mhm.
kind of using it the same way, maybe with a few variable defaults different. You might use Times New Roman or Arial, but it's kind of the same thing, just a different presentation. Whereas this is it's a free for all because it's so flexible. You can start out, build an app like even just the way I engage with it. I've created this whole Claude Code in the terminal was very intimidating to me because I'm like, what is
Mhm.
that? Like,
Me
it
too.
felt like I was going all the way back to like basic or DOS. I'm like, this feel like,
Yeah.
aren't we more advanced? But then I realized it's just so powerful. But
Yeah.
I didn't love the behind the like under the hood of what was going on and where files were stored. And so I kind of got frustrated with that. And so I built my own way of interacting with Cloud Code in the terminal that I love. And I just keep on making it better and better. Nobody else has ever used it. It's just how I interact with it. And I see other people building like their own. I'll look at how they're using Cloud Code. I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa, hold up. How are you even doing that? But it's the same thing for me. Like I created this way to like quickly fire up and archive and um
Huh.
which I love, and it makes it like because it's in a sense it's headless. What's going on
Yeah.
under the hood is headless. I'm like I need to be able to see this. So help me
Mhm.
figure out how to see it. So it basically brought it to the surface so I could see what was going on under the hood and interact with it. And so it's so flexible. And here's what amuses me to think about. I'm not even predicting it because I don't know, but in superhero movies, like every superhero has a different, like one can fly, one has laser eyes, one can transform, one, can shoot
Yeah.
spider webs out of their wrist. None of them are the same. Uh, and I think this is what is going to happen. I mean, there's going to be some overlaps because there's going to be like sharing
Sure.
of kind of intellectual commons, like, oh, here's a good way to do it. And
Mhm.
people are going to adopt that. But also, I see people going so hard and deep into things. And I've
Mhm.
lost touch with what they're even talking about because they're so deep into this whole infrastructure that they've built that
Yep.
is unbelievably powerful. But it's
Mhm.
powerful in a different way than I'm using it.
Mhm.
And so I think, in 10 or 20 years, we're just going to get to decide like kind of what kind of human with what kind of apparatus around me do I want to do. And then you can build it and kind of go hard in that direction. And somebody else can go hard in another direction. And it's going to be wild. Wild.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, it's already wild. My,
Yeah.
my TikTok feed is just it's like a fantasy novel to me. Like,
It's crazy.
we're getting towards the end, but I have a moving back away from AI.
Uh-huh.
I have discovered that there are human experiences that are disproportionately valuable to me, and
Mhm.
they're even more valuable because of the power of this technology. It's like it's contrasting for me the things that are deeply valuable, and I think it's just helping me notice them because
Yeah.
I'm in this space that it's so different. Like I've got a son who loves hugs, and his
Oh.
hugs they're always valuable. Like that's always valuable, but he loves to hug. And for whatever reason, I've just been really paying attention to I'm finding so much value in the AI space, but what value do I find that's outside of that?
Mm.
And so I've kind of been collecting those things that outside of AI is just like I've always loved this, but now I notice more how much I love it because I think
Huh.
so much in this kind of sci-fi futuristic world that when it kind of I walk away from my 7 feet of computer screens here and all of my like I'm plugged into all these peripherals and stuff and uh and then I walk away and my son comes and gives me a hug. I'm like, this is actually what it's all about. That's so much fun. This
Yeah.
is actually the value. But have you experienced that at all? Just the living in this AI space and what kind of contrast that's presented to you as you kind of walk away from your computer screen.
Yes, and I think we've kind of hit some of it really, which is I find so much fulfillment with well, I've always been an animal lover, obviously,
Mhm.
but being able to go to these adoption events, like if you see me and I don't have a 30-minute meeting or an interview, I'm walking around to every single dog. I'm petting it, I'm taking pictures of it, I'm like
Mhm.
interacting with it. And that's just like so meaningful for me to have that where I'm, I'm probably sweating and I'm in the sun, but like I'm interacting with the animal and like I know that this animal is no way connected to AI.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they are their
yeah.
own entity.
That's right.
They don't even know what AI is.
Yeah,
And then of course, just being able to like step away and value, family connections, friend connections, sitting in front of someone face to face and just like having an interaction with them is so valuable now.
mhm.
And it's something that I would have easily taken for granted. But like just going over to my friend's house, sitting on her couch and just talking about, whatever's going on in our lives, like those little connections are very important now. And especially, I work from home mostly. So I'm just here with my dog all day and I'm just, talking to my bots and hanging out and maybe having some calls and meetings and whatnot. But being able to like step outside and like take my dog on a walk and just those simple things now are really, I think, honestly, the defining things of what make us human.
Yeah,
And we're just seeing it a lot more now because everything that AI can do is more commonplace, it feels.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, it's although although here's one of my hopes. Here's one of my hopes. Embedded, I find it very beautiful in a way that the corpus of human knowledge, as expressed in text on the internet and in books, that embedded in that is intelligence if you look at it a certain way, because that's what an LLM is. They've just absorbed it and then assigned the next most likely token, and that there's actually intelligence and usefulness in that, in the net of just the net thinking brought to bear on a token is so fascinating to me. And it can discover patterns that never would have been discovered because nobody can look at the whole
Yeah,
corpus and kind of
yeah,
condense it down into what's the next token. And so it can find those patterns. And I hope, I don't know, this might be a little bit of a fantasy, but I hope that somebody is, in fact, I've researched it a little bit and they are working on this, of dumping in animal communication at massive scale
ooh, that'd be cool.
and then trying to understand what are can we see a little deeper into the patterns here of what are they communicating. And that I was like, if I could use my phone to translate and tell my dog, hey, we're going to go to town and let's go get in the car, and
Right?
it could I don't know that they think at that complex level, but the people are working on that. And anyway, so that's one of
Yeah,
my hopes, is that I would love, I mean, I grew up reading the Narnia novels where animals could talk, and I would look
yeah,
at my cat and I would try and talk to it. I'd listen. I would, like, as a little kid, I was like full in that fantasy imaginative space, and I'd be like trying to get, like, I know it's right there, it's looking at me, it should be able to understand me.
yeah.
So maybe someday.
No, if you, I know that I have a connection to my dog. We just get each other on another level.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I feel like if anyone could communicate with animals, it's me,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
But
That's right. That's your superpower. That's your superpower.
yeah, right.
Well, let's
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, how much longer do we have?
Just a few minutes if you have the
Okay,
time.
yeah, sounds good. I just want to make sure I end with a note about you because I've really enjoyed just getting to know you and talk. Anyways, I'll let you continue.
Oh, well, yeah, I've got kind of several rapid fire questions. What is
Okay.
one of your favorite but not very well known resources that you use in the AI space? A book, a person, a TikTok feed, or an actual tool? Is there
Yes.
something?
So there is a podcast that I love, and I feel like it's very popular, but every time I bring it up, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I'll bring it up anyway. It's called AI Daily Brief, and
Mhm.
he does a really good job of just explaining everything that's going on in the AI space, but also with the business acumen piece. And it's very, I found it to be mostly unbiased. And he also has a background, kind of like Nate Jones, of like a bunch of different agents running and finding all the research every single day. So then he's able to come out with these daily podcasts that are
Mhm.
actually helpful and like you're able to rely on them. So I would recommend that podcast to anyone and everyone.
Okay, fantastic. That's fantastic. What, you wake up in the morning, crawl out of bed, maybe make your coffee. What's the first app that you open up in the morning on your
Oh
computer?
God.
What's your go-to?
Lately, Lately, it's been TikTok, which is awful.
Yeah.
Um, and otherwise, it's usually either Claude or ChatGPT, whichever one I'm using as my main LLM at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You know what's kind of fun is Claude has been buried in my computer. You open it up, you use it. Now it's talking to me on my phone and sending me messages. And that I'm not a notification kind of a guy. Like I pretty much have all notifications turned off. Like don't bother me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I'll look at my phone
Mhm.
but I do like that notification because for the last few years, I'm like, if I could just get you to talk to me, then I could embed
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I need to remember this," but if I could let you remember it and
yeah.
then you remind me, and now we're at that place where it actually can do that with cron jobs and
Mhm.
scheduled events, and that is exhilarating for me that, now I can take something in my brain and embed it in a system that can predictably, so I can get
Yeah,
alignment external to myself and then have it come back to me, so, yeah, every time now when I turn on my actual Claude desktop app, it pops up on my phone saying something like, "All right, we ready to roll?" I'm like, "We are ready to roll. Let's do this." Okay, this will be a curious. I've been thinking about this a lot. Do you have you come up with a name for your AI bot?
I have not. So I do that whole concept of like desks, and I'm
Mhm,
still working on the overall orchestrator and like harness for all of those and building that out. But I refer to things as like my content desk, my finance desk, my
mhm,
marketing desk, my sales desk, like all of those. So I think of them more as jobs rather than names.
mhm.
And I've tried a couple times to get names associated. So hopefully one day I will.
Well, it was interesting. I have named ChatGPT and Claude 2 different things for 2 different reasons, but, I named ChatGPT. I actually had it pick a name because I talk to my phone, like, I have my earbuds in, and
Yep.
it's a voice to text, which isn't perfect, but it's pretty good, and every
Hmm.
once in a while, it would break into this Giga Chad mode all of a sudden and start calling me, like it calls me Cafe because that's kind of what I'm known like, that's my
Yeah.
kinda online thing, so that's the name it usually calls me, and then it would be like, "That sounds good, bro." This first time it happened, I was like, "Did you just call me bro? Like, what?" It said,
Oh,
"Well, you called me Chad," and so I thought like, the Chad is kind of like a meme persona of like a Giga Chad or a frat boy or whatever. So it started talking
yeah,
to me like a frat boy, and that would I'm like, "No, I said chat." Like, that's what I would call it back in the day,
yeah,
and finally, I'm like, "Okay, this" and it would annoy me so much, like, the persona it
yeah,
would put on, like, I hate this so bad. How can I, like, never have you do this, to me again?
yeah.
And so I'm like, "You gotta come up with a name." So I came up with Lumi because of luminescence, because I would often be like, "Oh, that sheds a lot of light on that." And so it kinda came
Oh,
up with that.
cute.
And then I
Okay.
called Claude, which I have the female, British. God, I just love British voices. And there's a female British voice that happens to sound like Kate Beckinsale, like,
Mm,
very much, so I call it Kate. But, I was listening to AI Field or no, that's me. AI over lunch was
yes.
talking to I think Finding Gnosis, I think
Mhm.
his name
Chasing Gnosis.
Chasing Gnosis, yesterday
Mhm.
on AI over lunch,
Yep.
conversation, and they were talking about that, and but they noticed that it's people that talk to it, that tend to,
Oh.
like, talk out loud as opposed to, like,
Huh.
and I realized, oh, there is a distinction. When I'm writing in Claude Code, I don't call it any name because 'cause I'm just, like, typing an instruction and go
Yeah.
do that, but when I'm talking, it's very much of a conversation, and it kind of feels more like just a conversation where I would say somebody's
Yeah.
name, and so that was an interesting thing that there's probably a distinction between people that are sitting down at a terminal telling it to do something as opposed to people that
Yeah.
are just, like, talking and brainstorming for hours.
I've meant to be talking to mine, but yeah, I don't really talk to mine. So
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. Um, let's see. What is one thing that you hope that AI makes possible in the future?
So I think again, kind of on theme with what we've been saying is like I just don't know what's the ultimate possibility for like everything right now. So I don't want to limit myself by thinking too small. But what I do want is I want to be able to empower people that have typically not been empowered. Like I want them to take advantage of the technology at their hands to be able to do more and
Mhm.
to really have that creativity, because we all come from some such diverse experiences and worlds
Mhm.
that we all need this opportunity to create amazing things, because I'm not going to think of something that someone else in, Maine is going to think of as like a constant issue that they're having every single day. So
Mhm.
just that, again, the diversity of thought is huge. And I
Yeah.
really hope that we're able to see some cool stuff come out of it.
I love that thought. I mean, I know that there is the AI makes you stupid, which makes me laugh hysterically
Yeah.
because I'm like, I have thought more and in more detail and more,
Yep.
conceptual development than ever in my life, uh, because I can verbally process out loud and explore things and see what happens. And so as I think about AI, I think about like token cost because I am
Mm-hmm.
concerned. I don't want it to become like
Right.
the elite that have access to it and then they become more and more elite. I just don't think that's a healthy way. But
Yeah.
I see the token cost, even though it feels like it's always increasing, but it's actually because they're giving us more intelligent models
Mm-hmm.
that do cost more. But if you go back to, I mean, ChatGPT 4.0 is not around, like the cost of actual intelligent units is dropping unbelievably fast, but it's just also getting so much more intelligent so much faster that it actually
Hmm.
is increasing net cost. Um, and I'm hoping, I mean, that's my hope for the future, like you, is that we find that tipping point, that we use AI to figure out how to do this, to put cheap intelligence, which I think is just, it's like giving everybody a way to kind of expand what they want to do and do more. Like
Mm-hmm.
if everybody in the world, which has always been true, technology has always been able to do that. From you and I living primitive lives out in the woods, we just wouldn't really be doing all that much in terms of accounting or in terms of developing stuff. And so you add technology layers to the point that I can sit and turn on a computer and get on my phone, and all of that lets me do more,
Mm-hmm.
and I think AI is doing that. And I just think I hope we find that tipping point where the cost, and I think I'm curious to see, but I think that with 4.6 to me was a real tipping point where it's like, if we never got a better model,
Yeah.
this is, and the cost of that model is going to drop as they understand how to harness and develop the intelligent better and drop the token cost for that model specifically. Even if we
Yeah.
never got better, if everybody had this, it
Yep.
would
Incredible.
be unbelievable. And so I think we've been climbing in intelligence and we're like, man, it almost is there. It's almost there. It's almost there. And then 4.6 happened, or really 4.5 was a little bit of it. But then 4.6 was like the full free fall for me. Like, okay, we're all in on this. And
Mm-hmm.
then those token costs in intelligence are dropping. And of course, then they give us Fable, which I have to use because gosh,
Yep.
unbelievable. But I do hope
Crazy.
that we figure out to where it's just and one of the big model CEOs said, it's going to be so cheap that we won't even meter it eventually. And whether that's true or not, I hope that's true to where everybody can just, as long as you have a
Use it.
computer or a phone, that you'll have access to, like, really just express what you want to and do more stuff. So that, yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. Well, to wrap
Yeah.
up, I'll give you the last few words. But one of the things to definitely hit on is, where can people find you? What are your names online? Website, anything you want to share? I'd love to share that with the
Yep.
community.
So I am, figuring out exactly what I'm supposed, all of the social media. Anyway, so on TikTok, I'm Alyssa with AI. I've also been kind of working on making more of an Instagram for myself, but it's
Hmm.
very early stages. So again, Alyssa with AI. Bricks Advisory is the company that I run. So that website is just bricksadvisory.com. LinkedIn,
BRICK bricks.
S.
S
Yep.
bricks. Uh huh.
Yep. And also a shout out to Legos, because that's kind of how I came up with the
Nice.
name. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
my husband came up with the name. I'll give him credit. But anyway,
Yeah. Oh man.
um, next, LinkedIn, Alyssa Clarcq, CPA. So you can find me there. And last,
CLARCQ. which
Yes.
every time I see your name, my last name is Clark too, so I'm just like, she
Uh-huh.
just has to flex with that cool last name.
Yeah. I can again thank my husband for
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
And yeah, anyways, and then in TikTok I have a link in my bio with everything as well. So that's probably the main place to find
Fantastic.
everything.
Well, that will be in the show notes on the podcast. I will
Perfect.
say that I'm a great lover of serendipity in life, and most of the good things in my life have been serendipitous, including finding my wife. That was complete random serendipity. And but I love serendipity. I love that TikTok. I happened to hear about it, get on it, get into the AI space, and then one day in the future, I eventually found somebody named Alyssa with AI, and it has been absolutely
Oh,
delightful getting to know you. You're a lot of fun, and I just love that we get to learn together and kind of
I know.
be in this mix in this little corner of the internet. And I'm just so excited that I get to hang out with you.
I know, me too. And that's the piece that I wanted to speak to really quick, which is you have just been such a light in this space. You keep it so authentic and you're just building and doing what, speaks to you the most. And I just love how you're so authentically yourself every time I talk to you or any video I see. I'm like, yes, that is Cafe 655.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But
right.
and I think the other piece too is like I go on TikTok and I'm just scrolling trying to find new people and I will see you in the comments of all the videos and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love how you support people and
Mhm.
show up. And I think whether you mean to do it or not, I have seen you support and lift up a lot of female creators as well, which I think is super important in this day and age, just to make sure that we're all, again, getting diversity of thought. And especially in a world of tech bros, like I do want to find the different opinions and viewpoints. So I just want to thank you for what you're doing for the overall community and just individuals, because it has been amazing to see and honestly motivating for myself as well.
That's so fun. I think the reason that's true is I think the very first AI person other than Nate Jones was Cat
Yes.
G
Yes.
GPT. Um, and and she is so fun to watch. She's doing all
Yeah.
sorts of cool stuff. She's super trendy, doing all this kind of
Yeah.
cool stuff out on, I guess, Silicon Valley, and now she's on, she's just kind of all over the place and interviewing these big names and stuff. And so I always have been watching her, and I think it's been so much fun. And it's interesting. I don't think this is exclusively true. It just happens to be. I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching what's her name? Something human. She's a she's a
Oh.
she's a Kiwi, um, from New Zealand, not the fruit. And
Yeah.
she's I have a bunch of New Zealand friends, and I always call them my Kiwi friends. Um, but she is. Oh, and then there's another one from Australia, and they are. And I was like, I was thinking through all the most kind of philosophically rich TikTok feeds that I have, and it's
Yeah.
not exclusive, but like 90% of them are females, and I think they just bring a different. I just think they bring something different to the space,
Yeah.
and I've really learned a lot from. I think it's Staying Human, and
Oh.
I think is her name, and I think she's like a professor, like she's a bigwig in the academics.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, how do people get this smart that they can think about this stuff? And I'm just grateful that I can learn uh, from people like that. And then there's some people in kind of, I think maybe, I don't know that this is true. This is probably I probably get canceled for this, and that's fine. But I think at least the ladies that I follow are looking at, they're not siloed. Like they're looking at it across the wide spectrum. Whereas I'm just like, can I do this cool thing? And then I'll do that. And that's all I think about. And I think,
Yeah.
and I've noticed this with my wife, she tends to like spread out her awareness a lot more. And I think there's like,
Hmm.
not exclusively, but I think in general that might be a tendency. And I think I'm so glad. I'm so glad, at least the ones that I'm exposed to really bring a really thoughtful approach, because I would be like, this is cool, let's go. And they're like, yeah, but this is also
Hmm.
gonna affect somebody else. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that is true." So it's been good to be in that space where I'm hearing a lot of different voices, which is a lot of fun, and I'm glad that you're one of them. It's been so much
Thank
fun,
you.
Alyssa, and I'm sure we'll be jumping on lives on TikTok and doing more more conversations together, which I look forward to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a delight. It's been a delight, and I'll see you around